The football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, sponsored by Indigo Communications. Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell, Tam McManus here with me, Peter Martin. We're delighted that you could join us for what can only be described as a rip-snorting show ahead. If you've got a chance, hit the subscribe button and get ready to join us and offer us your opinion as well. It is absolutely free online to join us in PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and if you download the app, you'll get all the latest breaking news as well. And with that breaking news in mind, we'll be discussing a manager getting sacked that may be heading home to Scotland, a player that looks as if he's not going to make a Champions League match, but the big talking point has to be VAR. What's your thoughts on it? Give us your thoughts on our YouTube channel, and if you've got the app, you can download it and go into submissions and submit your thoughts on VAR if you were watching it in the Scottish Premiership over the weekend. So with that in mind, we will read it out and get the reaction of our pundits here today. And also, Rangers fans, is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst under pressure after the slip-up in the Scottish Premiership? Here's the results of the Scottish Premiership over the weekend for you to look over. Hibs 1, St Johnstone 2, Hearts 3, Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1, Ross County 0, Motherwell 1, Aberdeen 2, Rangers 1, Livingston 1, and St Mirren 2, Dundee United 1. So there's lots of things to discuss with regards to that. And I can tell you also that there is indeed a press conference which has just finished regarding Celtic's match with Shakhtar Donetsk. Let's not forget that it's Napoli Rangers and Hearts against RFS. So that really is a great week of football that we'll be discussing on the programme. Simple as that. And with that in mind, I think we're at Celtic Park right now, where Ange Postecoglou's been talking to members of the press. Adam Binney, our reporter, is there at the moment. And I'll tell you right now, he's spending a lot of time. I wish we'd filmed him there. He's spending a lot of time fixing his hair, which actually causes so much consternation on this channel. It's not real. But let's concentrate on the most important thing. Adam, Ange Postecoglou, what did you have to say ahead of the game against Shakhtar Donetsk?
Yeah, Peter, I get plenty of stick on the comment section on this programme about the hair. The wind here at Celtic Park is absolutely brutal, so I've been spending the last few minutes trying to get that in order before I come on live. Unfortunately, that's not been the case, so I'm sure the viewers will be delighted to see we've got a makeshift hairdo on the go at the minute. But let's get to the important stuff. As you said, Ange Postecoglou and his Celtic side, as expected, nothing really changes for Ange. He says they'll play the same way, play the same football. It's so important that they can get a result if they want to qualify. So it's a must-win game, of course. If you look at the table statistically as well, that is the case. There's a couple of conditions that Celtic need if they want to progress, not to the next round of the Champions League, of course, that's already deemed impossible, but if they want to qualify and as third place get into the Europa League, they require a win against Shakhtar tomorrow. In addition to that, they need to get at least a point in Madrid against Celtic, and then also hope that Leipzig get the better of Shakhtar. Speaking to Ange, he feels confident for this one, as you would say. He's a little bit calmer than he has been in his past couple of press conferences. There was one frosty question towards the end that you'll get to see on our social media channels later on. He wasn't pleased with a question about ticket prices from a reporter, so that's one to keep an eye out for. But apart from that, yeah, Ange's looking forward to this one, and it's another chance for him to try and prove that his Celtic side belong on this stage.
And of course, the big news coming out of it all is everybody was wondering if he was going to have Jota available to him, and that's just maybe he's decided not to rush him.
Yeah, Jota out, I'm afraid. No Jota, no Carroll Starfelt, but David Turnbull will be back. We've seen that Turnbull and Starfelt were both training with the squad this morning. It's a little bit too early for Starfelt, he says, who will resume full training tomorrow. David Turnbull back in the squad. Could see him. Don't think so from the start. I think Aaron Moy has been playing well the last couple of weeks, so he's likely to start. For Jota, I'm afraid he won't begin full training until after the match against Shakhtar Donetsk. But we did get a little word from Ange about Jota being called up to the Portugal Provisional World Cup squad. I know there's 55 people and it'll be more than cut in half before the World Cup starts, but Ange was delighted to see that his players are being recognised on the international stage and hopes that can provide inspiration for others in the Celtic squad.
what can we expect? What's the real feel inside the Shakhtar Donetsk camp on this one? I noticed the main narrative is if we can try and put on a show and win this match for our country.
Yeah, so I was speaking to some of the Ukrainian journalists that were gathered in the press conference area. They don't seem too confident. I know the Shakhtar, the next side, have had a great start to the season, undefeated domestically. In fact, the only game they've lost all season was to Real Madrid. You know, there's absolutely no shame in losing to Real Madrid, but it was that dominant performance from Celtic in Warsaw when they met before that they're not too keen, really. I don't think they think that Shakhtar have what it takes to come to Celtic Park in the famous atmosphere under the lights and get something, which I was surprised by. If you look at, as I said, the domestic form, it's fantastic. They've taken points off of every team in this group. They've played Real Madrid, got a draw there. They've managed to beat Leipzig as well. But yeah, of course, there's that patriotic element to it as well, that their country's going through a terrible time, and they're hoping they can do it for their people.
Well, listen, great to hear from Adam there. I'm sure there'll be more people battering him for his hair, but the fact of the matter is he's out there. He's given us the great substance of what's Ange Postecoglou said, and the players as well. He's shaking his head. I really wish we could see him just fixing that hair. It's an event in itself, but great for Adam. And let's not forget, he's on his way, Ruffy. No sooner is he at Celtic Park, he'll be on the plane and he's off to Italy for Napoli Rangers.
Yeah, fantastic. I think we're all really interested in both of these games coming up. They're so vital to our two teams, and we keep talking about the coefficient as well, so let's hope they can pick up some points.
Yeah, absolutely. You can give us your thoughts on Celtic's chances against Shakhtar Donetsk, but it's the up-to-the-minute news. Our reporters are out there at the press conferences telling you exactly what's happening, and of course we've got a chance now to reflect on what happened to Ange's side at Tynecastle. 4-3 it ended. What a game. We actually saw 9 goals, a penalty retaken, an offside decision against Anthony Ralston, a contentious one that wasn't awarded as a penalty, 2 Stonewall penalties as well. It had absolutely everything. I mean, the game was bouncing, and in the end Celtic got there, but as ever VAR was the hot topic, Alison.
Yeah, I think it was never going to come quietly, I think, into Scottish football. I think it firmly announced its arrival this weekend. I think we had predicted when we spoke about it before that it wouldn't solve all the arguments that are around decisions in games, and I think if anything was a case in point, it was Saturday's encounter. I think what you see sometimes when there's a subjective decision, like a claim for a penalty, and I'm thinking of course of the handball that Celtic thought they were due and didn't get. I think when you have a subjective decision like that, I think you're always still going to have contention and differences in opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm being brutally honest about it, watching the game unfold, I thought Nick Walsh was at times poor. I thought he the first Hearts penalty was a Stonewall, and I don't even think he needed to wait for VAR. Thankfully, VAR corrected him. And I thought he got the call on the penalty handball from Michael Smith wrong. Now, I think the referees deserve the time to get used to things, to get it right. But some people will look and say, as we predicted, VAR is still open to human interpretation. It just has to be. You're hoping that interpretation, once you see it from other angles, will result in the correct decision being made. Now, I'm not going to go down the line, Tam, of some people who are suggesting corruption, bias, you name it, because we knew that was going to happen. But I'll tell you what I do think. I do think that as we discuss each game here, it just highlights that some of the referees need to up their game. They are not good enough at times, and VR will help them along the way, but they've got to also try and look at some of the calls. I thought Michael Smith's was a Stonewall penalty. Some other pundits don't. What do you think?
I thought it was a penalty. I think that his arm comes out to stop the ball going into the box. I think it's not... I don't think it comes right out, but it does come out. It's just a natural reaction to put your hand out and the ball hits him. I think it was a penalty. The goal before that, I'm not sure what that was chopped off for. A foul on a foul on the Hearts player at the edge of the box.
Yeah.
Not offside. A bit of a tussle, Snodgrass it was.
Yeah.
Went down. I don't think that was. I think that should have been a goal as well.
The problem was he'd blown the whistle so
early. He'd blown it very early, so he's obviously seen a foul early before the balls went in, so you can maybe forgive him for that, but the penalty was a penalty, and And the penalty for Hearts was a stonewaller. Both of them were. Obviously the first one he doesn't give, and that's what VAR's there for, to correct him if he's wrong. So I thought he got most of them right, but maybe a couple of them, he never got right.
Yeah, I mean, at times, Ruffy, I know, because we speak to referees, at times, most of the time you get this kind of from some, not all, this kind of a condescending attitude where you don't know all the rules, and you just don't understand why we've come to that decision, and this is not just for pundits, this is for fans as well, from referees' perspective on it. But if you're going to criticise referees, you've got to be honest about it and say, right, they got certain things right, they got certain things wrong, and now we're in a situation where we've looked towards a new bit of technology that will get the percentage of things hopefully correctly, decided the right way. But I thought it caused more frustration than anything. There was long delays in that match as well.
Yeah, I think as we go through all the games, there'll be ones that we'll agree on and ones that we won't, and I think that's still a good thing, that we can debate it or not. I thought in the Celtic game, the handball one was the most glaring one of the lot. I don't like that rule for a start. I think it's a cheap penalty kick. It's a cheap chance to score a goal. The ball's not going anywhere near a striker or anybody to put it in the net, and the ball's hit his hand so close. Yeah, his hand's out, but still for me, it's a cheap penalty. Apart from that, I think the referee, I agree with you a wee bit there, that the referee should have got some of the decisions right, but VAR did get it right. The one that Tom's talking about with Alisson's header, Giacomakis was pulling somebody's jersey. I don't think the referee could have saw that, because when the ball gets flung into the box, everybody's pulling each other. So you've got to really see it firsthand, and VAR did, and I thought it was correct to rule it off. Yeah,
I thought another thing about it was I thought it was an absolutely fantastic game. I thought Hearts made it a fantastic game because, they played football. They scored goals. We're not debating their penalties. The goal from Lawrence Shanklin was top drawer as well. I thought they really made a go of it.
Yeah, they came out and they got in Celtic's faces. They never let them play. They never let them settle. I thought Celtic were very poor in the first half, and I think Hearts capitalised on that. They just never let them get into their stride. I think overall Celtic probably edged it on the balance of play. I think Celtic probably merited the 3 points, but I think if you're a Hearts fan, you've got to take quite a lot of encouragement from the performance, from the manner of the performance, and it would maybe just offer some hope that they're still capable of going and challenging for that third place in Scottish football.
Yeah, if anything, after the game, Ange Postecoglou didn't hold back. He has actually accepted the fact that Celtic have been awarded penalties, but that's only in training.
Look, I thought we had a clear-cut handball. So what do I know, mate? Even on TV, apparently that's not good enough. We haven't had a penalty all year. I know people are saying that, I keep hearing opposition managers saying we get everything. The only penalties we've taken so far are training, so looking forward to one.
It's just such a good line, isn't it, Tom?
That's an unbelievable statistic when you think of the amount of attacking that Celtic do, the amount of time they spend in opposition half and penalty box that they've made a penalty kick, and I thought it was a penalty. I think it was a clear penalty. You can see Smith's reaction. As soon as the ball hits his hand, he just thinks that's a penalty, and I think he was astonished that it wasn't given. So just one of the things. I think Celtic will get their fair share, but they're just not had any so far.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not going to. I don't think VAR is there to monitor how many penalties Rangers and Celtic get. It's there to try and make it as fair as possible for the whole of the Scottish Premiership, Ruffy. And then, we may well get the majority of decisions right. If the referee at times was inept at Tynecastle, then you have to look and say the VAR people in the actual VAR centre have to be on the ball, have to be just like the referees on the game.
Yeah, I think what everybody's got to get their head round that if the referee gets a shout, you've got to have a look at that, and there is a continuous bit of play. There was one at Hearts where the play kept going on, and all of a sudden it's away up in the other half, and then they're calling it back for a penalty.
That is going to happen.
You've got to get your head round that.
Yeah.
I think it really disappointed me a lot. I think the players have now caught on to, they want to have a look at everything. As soon as a decision, they're right round the referee. Have a look at that. Have a look at that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was getting a bit much in some of the games. They were just trying to latch on to another resort. To get something. They were right round the referee, and it wasn't even serious things they were going around them for.
Yeah, well, one man that I think, over a year ago, maybe some people were thinking he'd been on his way out, but Greg Taylor has battled away, and he's got a battle in contention of competition with Bernabei in the left-back area, but when he comes on and scores winning goals, then he strengthens his case for inclusion in all the big games. He's now a Scotland internationalist, and he scored the winning goal, and he wasn't too worried about whether VAR was going to have a look at it or not.
4-3 winner, no chance. It was a great feeling, and at that point you don't really have time to think whether the goal's going to be okay or not. You're just, euphoria takes over your body, and it was, the fans deserved it because they backed us throughout the 90 minutes as I touched on, a difficult place.
Yeah, good win for Celtic. What about Hearts? Down to 7th in the table. You've always been consistent, Tam, saying this is just too many games.
Yeah, I think when they get to the break and they start to get players back, when they're out of Europe and they're not playing 2 or 3 games a week, I think they'll fly up the table. I think they're sitting 4 or 5 points behind Aberdeen and St Mirren, and I think Robbie Neilson have been reasonably happy with that because of the amount of games they've played. They've not been great this season, but I think once they start to get some key players back, I think you'll find them putting a run of wins together and get them up the league.
Yeah, here's the Hearts manager Robbie Neilson's take on the new technology.
Yeah, I thought there's going to be a lot of ironing out to do. I think today we got, the novelty of it kept everyone on side. But I think if we're going to have that, in a month's time, 3 months' time, 6 months' time, then it's going to become more of a hindrance than a good.
There's not many people, Alison, giving it a chance to actually bed in.
I think there's always going to be a couple of months where it is difficult at first. I thought it took too long on Saturday for decisions to be made, and like you said, I think sometimes you're calling things back under pressure that is unnecessarily so. Other times I think you're not calling things back that could be looked at. The Motherwell game's a huge case in point for this. I'm sure you'll get to it, but I think you have to give it a bit of leeway. I think you saw down south when it first came in, there were real teething problems and issues with it. I think you have to be patient in the implementation of it. I think it will become more fluent as time goes on, but I'll reiterate what I said. I think for hard and fast decisions where you can apply the letter of the law, and you think of an offside decision where it's fairly cut and dried, when you look at something back, it's fairly easy to come to an agreement that everyone more or less can buy into. I think when it comes to a subjective decision, like a penalty, I think it's far harder.
Yeah, I'll tell you one man who might feel a little bit peeved at the end of it all. He might have got the match ball, but Lawrence Shanklin scored a hat-trick and was on the losing side.
You've got to at least get something out. When you score 3 goals against Celtic, you don't want to put all that work in and do that and then lose the game, you know what I mean? So it's moments, it's no overall bad performance today that's lost the game, it's just falling into runners and they're tapping the ball in it. That can be avoided.
Yeah, that's his assessment of the game. Hearts haven't won since the 18th of September. That was 3-0 away to Motherwell. So it just shows you, Ruffy, just that little bit of momentum. Maybe they can get it back against RFS and stop the rot.
Yeah, I think they've got a good chance of that one. Obviously, they're the weaker of the teams in that group. I think that game at the weekend, I'll give them a lot of encouragement. There's not many teams score 3 against Celtic unless there was penalties. But I wonder when the last time somebody got a hat-trick that sat on the bench.
Well, funny you should say that. Maybe not sat on the bench. The last time a player scored a hat-trick and ended up on the losing side, you know him. Yeah. You've actually possibly played against the one that played for Hearts who did it. The last Hearts player that I remember scored a hat-trick against Celtic and lost. I think I was at the game. Oh. You played against him. He's probably scored against you, Ruffy.
Probably not has all the time.
Not Robbo. Not Robbo. Before Robbo, in the Jim Jeffries side, they had a striker.
I'd be guessing.
You'd be guessing? Okay, do you remember a guy called Willie Gibson?
Yeah, Willie Gibson, yeah, I remember.
Willie Gibson scored a hat-trick in Celtic, defeated them, and also Frank McDougall, former Aberdeen player, scored a hat-trick and lost in a game as well. So
I scored 2 against Celtic and got beat 3-2, does that count?
No, because we're talking about hat-tricks, Tam.
I had one chopped off for offside, it wasn't.
VR, retrospective.
If VR was about back then, I'd have had a hat trick.
Did you come off the bench?
No, I started.
Oh, did you? So we could have narrowed it down quickly there for you. I could have got that up in the stats rather than chasing all the sub appearances. John Kane says, "Hi Peter, it was a cracking game on Saturday at Tynecastle. Obviously he's delighted Celtic got 3 points, richly deserved despite the VAR circus that correctly awarded Hearts their 2 penalties but somehow denied Celtic a stone waller," he says, and a perfectly good Anthony Ralston goal. The Celtic team never gives up. It's a combination of skill and sheer determination to win that saw us come out on top on that one, but he still thinks they're missing Callum McGregor and Jota, and as we highlighted, Jota out of this match against Shakhtar Donetsk as well. Ken is less tolerant of VAR. He says VAR is an unmitigated failure in Scotland. Celtic never even looked at the handball, wrong for St Mirren. This will make Scottish football less enjoyable to watch. So Ken's having none of it.
He's given it time. I like that.
He's given it a weekend. You know, that's the well, listen, he's in the same boat as Tam Courts. Tam Courts has been bumped from his job. This is the breaking news. Earlier today, he's bumped from his job at Honved. 5 wins, 5 defeats, 4 draws. 14 games, Tam.
That's incredible. I mean, he done really, really well at Dundee United as well and got a decent move over to Hungary. So I cannot believe that they've given him 14 games. I thought Tam Courts would have been hungry to do well over there.
Yep, absolutely. The sooner we move on to more sensible people, the better. Tam's in that kind of mood where he's going to try and gag the whole show, but we're not going to fall for it. Give us your thoughts on VAR. We've already discussed Hearts against Celtic, and now Celtic have a 4-point lead at the top because the next game we're going to discuss is Rangers against Livingston. Alison, 1-1. Finally, Hugh McDonald gets something right in the predictor, dare I say it, Alison. But I think a lot of Rangers fans listen, I'm speaking to a lot of them, they are losing their faith in Gio.
I don't think there's any doubt. I think that's the second game in a row where the team have been booed off the pitch. The fairly insipid performance against Dundee in the cup game midweek and then again against Livingston, and I think when you counter how long they had to play against 10 men and to try and break them down, I think it's an unacceptable scoreline, and I think patience is wearing thin. I think when you get to the point where sizable numbers of supporters are turning on the manager, I think it becomes very, very difficult to turn the tide.
Yeah, graphic display here will show the stats, Tam. 73 crosses. I mean, have a look at this. 73 crosses, 3 shots on target. The attempts for Rangers, 25, Livingston 5. I mean, the whole thing there, Rangers had 80%, over 80% of the possession in this match, but couldn't get the win.
Yeah, and I think up until the red card, they were huffing and puffing. I think that gave them a little bit of momentum to get something out of the game. They obviously got the equaliser with 5 minutes to go and they had 2 or 3 great chances at the end to win the game, but not good enough for Rangers. I think that result's been coming. You know, I spoke about it on the show and I bottled it for going, but I did sniff an upset in this game simply because the way Rangers have been playing, and I think Livingston scoring first gave them something to hang on to, and Rangers, you know, couldn't break them down. So I don't think the Rangers supporters are going to put up with this. 4 points behind Celtic now. A big game during the week against Napoli away from home. I think if they get a tanking in that, which is likely, to be honest, they're flying at the minute. I think there'll be louder calls for him to be removed as manager.
And Aberdeen on Saturday as well.
Well, do you think they're going to do you think they'll call for his head if they lose heavily against Napoli? I think it will add.
I think it will certainly add volume to the dissent that's around him just now. I think you can sense the pressure that's building on him. I think he's been asked repeatedly about his own position and whether or not he fears being sacked.
Do you think anybody in their right mind thinks Rangers are going to go to Napoli and get anything? I think Aberdeen would be the breaking point.
I would agree with you on that, but also I think if it's a performance like the Liverpool one, or if it's a result like the Liverpool one, I think it does certainly add volume to it. If you come off the back in another hiding, I think it makes it very, very difficult. And then of course you're going into a big game against Aberdeen, and Aberdeen team that are flying at the minute in the back of 3 straight wins, and they'll fancy that they've got nothing to lose walking into Ibrox.
Yeah, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst had this to say after the 1-1 draw with Livingston: "We are low in confidence. The only time you see a spark in my team is when we scored at 1-1 and with 7 minutes in injury time to maybe score the winner. We've had so many crosses. We lack the aggressiveness to go and attack spaces in the box. My focus is now to get the team back in their rhythm, in their way of playing, in their structure. If the results are not going the right way, then the pressure will become stronger. I think he still has, Ruffy, a little bit in the tank that the board would probably still cut him some slack. The biggest problem I have with it is I expect them to get a tanking against Napoli. I can't see anything I mean, if they get out of there with a 2-0, I think they'll be doing well. But I think Aberdeen is one of those games they think, no, we're not having Aberdeen coming to Ibrox and beating us or taking a point away.
Yeah, you would think that would be the logical way to go. I would go, if you're talking about a 7-1 against Napoli or something like that, I think that would be it. I think that's got to be something respectable. But yeah, in the back of a bad defeat there and Aberdeen going to Ibrox, I think generally the supporters dictate, what's going to happen to a manager. And if you got 50,000 in a stadium, they make a noise a lot louder, and obviously a game that's got 10,000 at it. So then that makes the board sort of say, well, that's the census of opinion, that most of them aren't happy. So, and then they do something. Yeah,
well, listen to what you talk. You always highlight the fact that sometimes the fans are not happy with what they're watching, they're leaving. And there was a lot of Rangers fans that had enough
before the equaliser.
And Cholak, Sakala, Morelos, and Roof were on that park at the end, Tam. So it's not as if he was being cautious. He was throwing them on to try and get the win, but they couldn't get it.
Yeah, I thought David Martindale got his tactics spot on. I think the amount of crosses that Rangers put in, I think Livingston would have wanted that. Livingston would have wanted them to put the ball in the box because they've got giants at the back, and obviously they got the goal for the header. But I think Livingston would be quite content to defend crosses all day with the size they've got at the back. They didn't want Rangers to play through them through the middle, and they let them get the ball wide and cross it in, and defended the crosses brilliantly. So I think he was outwitted a little bit from Martindale there, the manager. But I genuinely think that I just don't see it with Rangers. I don't see a spark there. I just don't see the players playing for him. I don't know. There's something not right at the club at the minute, and I think that's bearing out in the performances and results.
Yeah. Do you get the feeling that the axe could come after Napoli, or do you think he's going to get the time to turn it around, get players back?
Depends on the result and the performance. If it's another 5 or 6, I think he'll get the bullet. I think he'll get the bullet if Napoli beat them 5 or 6-0. I think he'll get the bullet before Aberdeen.
Ruffy?
I think it would have to be a heavy defeat, but I think it's a wee bit unfair, that the run he had in Europe, and I know sometimes people don't remember the good times, they tend to dwell on the bad ones, but I think he's got enough stuff in the bank to see out the Aberdeen game.
Do you?
I think yes, I think he will probably survive regardless of what happens in Italy, but I think there seems an increasing inevitability about where it's going.
Yeah, the other problem about it that a lot of people will have to, bear in mind on this is quite simply that there's 2 elements to it. Can they afford to get rid of his entire team and then bring another team in and then finance that in the January transfer window? Because that's what the Rangers fans will be demanding, Alison. They'll be saying, well, if he's going, you better get somebody in. And I think the Rangers fans are looking and saying they want Michael Beale back.
I don't know if that would be plausible or not. You saw him turning down an offer last week.
But if there's a chance to manage Wolves, I mean, I know the finances. Chance to manage Wolves or a chance to manage Rangers, it's a no-brainer for me.
Whether or not there's a draw for him coming back is a big question. I think Rangers fans would be delighted with that. I think he was very widely credited with being the brains behind the Steven Gerrard regime. I think he was quite high regarded in terms of his coaching abilities. I think they would welcome it. Whether or not they can afford to do as you say and go and offer a compensatory package, I think it gets to the point where you have to ask the question whether or not you can afford not to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the financial figures will be out and people will get a look at that as well. Whether they could coax Michael Beale is another thing, Tam. I mean, it's one of those ones where a lot of Rangers fans are saying, well, if Giovanni van Bronckhorst is out the door, he's the man that they would like to see, possibly someone else. I mean, there's surely some people who turn around and say, well, wait a minute, would he even contemplate David Martindale? He's a Rangers fan.
I don't think he's a big enough name. No offence to David, I don't think he's a big enough name. I don't think he's he's won enough. I think you're looking for somebody that's actually done something and won something. I think it's a different pressure at Rangers than there is at Livingston. So I think that Michael Beale would be the number one for every Rangers supporter. But if he's going to turn down Wolves, I mean, is he going to go to Rangers? I don't know. I mean, I think a move to Wolves would be a great move in the Premier League. Maybe he's hanging on to go to Rangers. I don't know, but I think that'd be the one that they would want.
And I
Rangers
think,
supporters.
as you alluded to there, I think the finances on offer at Wolves, not just in terms of remuneration packages, but also what you have to spend in transfer windows would be very, very different in scope.
Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't want to go to, I mean, I'm not trying to push for Michael Beale at Ibrox, but you wouldn't want to go to Wolves. Wolves, for me, are the new Sunderland, Ruffy. If you want to end your career quickly and do your CV in, manage Wolves, because you're only getting 6 months tops.
And I think they're already looking at a Portuguese manager, aren't they? So the next one to come in. So the people behind the scenes seem to have the way they want to go at that club, and I don't think it's a club that you would look at and go, I want to be there. But I just think Rangers are a massive club.
Yeah,
Rangers are absolutely huge in the concept of, and it just, as Alison's touched on, it depends on what he thinks. You know, he's been there, he's seen the setup, he's seen the training ground, he's seen the support, he's seen what it's like if you're in a winning Rangers side, and it's massive. It could be a massive pool.
Well, Paul Thompson on our feed on YouTube has said Gio has to go, and the board. They've made us a mediocre club and a laughing stock. They're playing a dangerous game. I think sometimes fans, maybe it's a kind of a knee-jerk and an immediacy of what's happening the here and now. This is a Rangers. I'm not making it as an excuse, Ali. This is a Rangers side who were in the Europa League final last year. This is a Rangers side that stopped Celtic winning 10 in a row.
8 months ago, we were in the European final.
Oh, how it's all moved on.
I think that's just the currency in Scottish football. I think you see it often. You saw it with Neil Lennon, how quickly credit is eroded and when there aren't results. And I think, crucially, it's not just about not seeing results, but it's about the manner of performances too. I think you look at Celtic and Rangers, both in the Champions League, it's been a very difficult campaign for each of them. Celtic have claimed a point, but I think there's an argument to say performances have been very different. I know the stark reality is that neither have fared particularly well, but I think there's been aggression and purpose about Celtic. You can see it as a team that is in transition, that they may have the capability of at one point, with repeated exposure in there, going on to compete in it. What you've seen from Rangers is a very insipid approach to Champions League football, and I didn't think Giovanni van Bronckhorst did himself any favours in the aftermath of that Liverpool game. The first one when he'd said, we just can't compete at that level. I think there are certain elements of private thought that you don't share in a public forum when you're the front of the club, and that would be one of them.
Yeah, okay. Just a moment of lightheartedness, if we can, on this. Is John Paul says to Tam McManus, Martindale is a big name, it's got 10 letters, so clearly John Paul's playing Scrabble at the moment. he's worked out the points for it. Well done, John Paul, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just thought to throw in some of the reaction on here, and whether there's a name that springs out that you'd like to see if indeed Giovanni van Bronckhorst is not in charge. I think the general consensus here is that the clock is ticking, and if there were another couple of bad results, one that maybe was heavy, then he could be on a sugary peg. I think they're going to get absolutely battered on Wednesday. I've said consistently on this programme, Tam, I can't see where they're getting a point.
They're not getting it in Napoli, that's for sure. I watched a bit of their game last night against Roma. 1-1-0. Excellent. Top of the league. I think they're unbeaten this season. So, no, I think Rangers will do well to keep that down to 2 or 3.
I would absolutely agree. I think they've been devastating this season, Napoli. I was listening to one of the Italian journalists just saying how they feel that there's a genuine opportunity to go and win the league, to rid themselves of that aspect that it was Maradona that delivered a title, that this season they have a complete team, that they have a team capable of going and delivering a title. And in the early evidence of the season, I think they definitely look like real contenders.
Yeah.
I actually think you could fancy them to go quite far in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, there's no need to even debate whether Maradona won them the title, Ruffy, and he did. He was unbelievable.
He was single-handedly, nearly in every game.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Super.
Big problem for me is to try and watch Tam's every move in the studio, because he's hoping this is a large or an extra large Maradona shirt and he can get it on, but it's a medium.
Take out my wages.
Yeah. Absolutely. such a moaning face so and so. Anyway, that's how it goes. Do you think Rangers will replace Giovanni van Bronckhorst? Has he get more stock with the Rangers board and more time to try and turn things around, get some of the injured players back, and also maybe strengthen in the January transfer window? Give us your thoughts. Don't forget, you can also hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Download the app. You'll get all the breaking stories. It's absolutely free to watch us, and you'll get your opinion as well. Some you like, some you don't. Let's just tell you that the draw for the Scottish Cup third round has been made. There are a few belters in there that we thought we'd throw out there. Ruffy, you've got Kelty Hearts. At home, you are at home.
Oh, I'd like home. Home is always good to be in the cup, but we played them a couple of seasons ago. They're doing well. They're moving up the league, so yeah, it'll be a good game.
Yeah, they're just waiting on you saying, yeah, it'll be a tough game, you know, but
bounce back.
Yeah,
after that hammering at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not happy with you, Ruffy, because he lost money.
I'm actually glad he had this. It softens the blow. He is getting beat.
Yeah, absolutely. So third round, Ayr United versus Pollock or Annan, which is a good one. Wraith Rovers against Auchinleck Talbot. I'm just giving you the quick summation of some of the good games in there. Hamilton Accies against East Kilbride. East Kilbride might fancy their chances. Hillabeath versus Elgin. Drumchapel against Edinburgh. Montrose versus Darvel. I ran into Ian McShane last week. Plays for Darvel now. They've got a bit of money. Some of the other ones that are there, Peterhead against Queen's Park. So that's just some of the ties that have come out. Dunfermline against Forfar. Inverness against Stirling Albion. Morton against Queen of the South. Clyde Dumbarton, just a few of them. You can see the whole draw on PLZ Soccer's website, indeed on the app, and we'll put it up across all our social media channels. So if you want to see what's happening in the third round draw, thanks to so many of you are posting messages on the VAR, giving it the thumbs down or the thumbs up. It's entirely up to yourself. At least you're giving us your opinion on it. We did mention there, if you have missed it, that Tam Courts has been sacked by Honved after 14 games. He'll be heading home after 5 wins, 5 defeats and 4 draws. 14 games to try and turn a club around. Jota's out of the match against Shakhtar Donetsk, and we've been talking about Rangers 1, Livingston 1. Give us your thoughts on that as well. Elsewhere, it was a good game at Fir Park. In the end, Ali, you watched it. Motherwell 1, Aberdeen 2.
Yeah, I think Motherwell might have had the biggest VAR grievance of the weekend. I thought they did a very good shout right at the death. It was interesting that the referee wouldn't even contemplate having a look at it. He said time was up. I think if it happens in the 90th minute or it happens in the 60th minute, I think you're entitled to think that you'll have a look at it. So I could understand Motherwell's irritation at the call, especially when you consider just where they are just now.
Yeah, even with the picture, when you see it, Ali, it looks as if it's fairly convincing on it. He was adamant that they should have looked at it. I think the officials were trying to say, well, the whistle was blown, there's no chance of looking back over it, but they're not exactly setting a precedent there, because I think Manchester United had a penalty awarded to them after a game, had the whistle blown.
And came back on and took it.
So they have grounds for it in your mind?
I thought certainly. I thought it was a very good shout. I thought Aberdeen were probably worth the 3 points overall. I think Aberdeen probably looked the more menacing of the two teams. But I think when you are where Motherwell are just now and in free fall and you're desperate to just get a foothold, I think you could see why they were so annoyed about the decision. Yeah,
here's Motherwell boss Stephen Hamill on this issue.
That was the message. No, the game's over. I mean, like we said, it was almost instantly from the full-time whistle. We feel like it doesn't matter what time in the game these things happen. It should still be looked at the same. I mean, it's supposed to be here to look at these things, at the very least check it, and I don't believe that happened.
Well, he's more than miffed. It could have been a valuable point for them as well. I think that's annoying, because fans will probably leave the ground and think, why is he not looking at that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they will be annoyed that they never had a look at it. It's during the game. Okay, the final whistles went, but you can still have a look at it and maybe give a penalty kick. Looked like a penalty kick, but I think that when I just seen the highlights, I wasn't at the game, but I thought Aberdeen created the better chances and looked as if they were the better side throughout the game and probably deserved to win. I think it's only their second or third away win in a long time, Aberdeen, so it was a great result for them. It takes them nicely into the game next week at Ibrox.
Yeah, well, I hear a lot of Motherwell fans will be saying it doesn't really matter whether they played well or not. If there's a a decision to be made, it's to be made. Jim Goodwin, like you, Tam, just voiced his overall thoughts on the game and the fact that he thought they were well worthy of the 3 points.
I'm really pleased for both of them to get 2 good goals. The first one's a real bit of class from Majowski, and thankfully VAR was here, because it would have been a travesty if that goal had been ruled offside wrongly, and we didn't get to see the quality of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the other thing about it now, Ruffy. I'm wondering how long, as we move on, how players are going to celebrate goals and think, do I go through my full repertoire of, a wee bit of dancing, or do I wait now and just see if I'm going to get the goal or not?
Yeah, I think the funniest bit will be trackside, when the benches are celebrating and they're running up and down the track and then they're told they've got to sit in their backsides. I think that could be another one as well, but I don't know, as long as he just touched on it there. I mean, there's VAR got it right. A fantastic goal was going to be allowed, but it's a big decision and it got it right. So I think in a census of the weekend, although we're picking the bones in a lot of it, I would like to think we got the majority of it right.
Yeah, good news though, Aberdeen up to 3rd in the table. They are going in the right direction slowly but surely.
Yeah, they are. As I said, their home form's been very strong this season, but their away form's been poor, so that's a big result for them. And so I think they've got goals in them. Aberdeen, they look as if they've got goals in them. Majowski, as you spoke about there, and Duke and guys like that, even Basujawan who come off the bench, they're all good players, good attacking players. And I feel that's a big difference between Aberdeen from this season and last season. They look as if they can score 2 or 3 goals in a game now.
Yep, fair play to Aberdeen. Here's a look at the table to see exactly where your team are in this whole escapade. Celtic now 4 points clear of Rangers, but at the bottom end, Ross County at the bottom alongside Dundee United, Kilmarnock not too far away, St Johnstone as well as Motherwell now in that bottom half, and Hearts just 2 points behind Livingston, separating bottom from top. So it was Hibs 1, St Johnstone 2 on the Friday night game, Ruffy, and this one all changed on the sending off.
Yeah, it certainly did. I think Hibs looked well in control, playing a lot of good football, and then all of a sudden you're down to 10 men and you try and see the game out, and it wasn't to be. All credit to St Johnstone, particularly their 2 strikers, who have been coming under a wee bit of stick. I thought they did particularly well to get the goals, but unfortunately Woman, who we talk about nearly every third week, Porteous had a poor game for me. I thought as a centre half, you've got to go and defend these crosses in the box, and he failed miserably in the 2 of them.
Yeah, perhaps it was fitting that the first VAR decision was Martin Boyle getting booked for diving. It's probably what he would have wanted, and all the fans as well, Tammy.
Yeah, I think the VAR got that right. I think that Martin, he was anticipating, the tackle coming in and went down.
I love that striker's line, anticipating the tackle.
He was correct decision was to give him a yellow card. You don't like to see that. And I totally agree with what Ruffy says. I think up until the sending off, Hibs were in control without really looking to get that second goal. I think 2-0 would have killed the game off. I thought St Johnstone were really, really poor in the first half. Hibs played pretty well. But even at 1-0 with 10 men, you've got to see the game out. How many teams do you see with 1-0 with 10 men seeing the game out? And 2 cross balls come in, Porteous doesn't attack any of them, and ends up with 2 goals. So a really, really disappointing performance from Hibs result when you think about the sellout crowd and the work that was done behind the scenes from the marketing team and everybody else to make sure there was 20,000 in there, biggest attendance for 30 odd years, and you lose at home. So that's no good.
Sent off Kyle McGuinness. Here's Lee Johnson on why he wasn't substituted earlier.
It was something that was strongly considered, but we have the luxury of having live GPS by the side of the pitch, and Kyle was our second highest output in terms of consistent metres per minute at like 120 metres per minute, which is extremely good. Not only that, I think he's a fantastic player.
Well, I'm now. This programme is now going into the realms of a parallel universe. I don't know about you, but I prefer the old manager's tactic. Get him off. He's going to get sent off, and I don't care how far he's running or how good you think he is. Don't let your eyes deceive you.
I hear what you're saying. I think you're talking about his industry and what he's offering, but I think what you have to consider is that if he goes off, then you lose absolutely everything. You've got nothing in that position at all, and ultimately it costs them the game.
Never heard anything like that, Tam, have you?
No, but that's modern day football now. They sit with their iPads and their laptops, and they can see, with the GPS vests, they can see who's tired, who's still got energy and all that stuff. But you're right, sometimes you've just got to trust your own eyes and say, make a decision. He's been booked, he's just back, he's firing into a few tackles. Maybe the safest option would be to take him off.
I'd get 10 minutes, Ruffy. I'd get 10 minutes, then I'd be off.
Check his, whatever it's called.
It says GPS working. He's knackered running out the tunnel.
When you see them for the hey, come on, Messi, run about a wee bit more. Come on, you're not standing about and scoring a hat trick.
Do you remember that used to be the moan? Do you remember some people used to say, Messi just walks about. Messi just walks. There's nothing. Can you imagine putting a GPS on Messi and saying, listen, you need to run about a bit more, wee man? It's just ridiculous, Ruffy. Have you ever heard that? I mean, you've played in the game when that just wasn't the case.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody talking about energy. People usually hold their hand up and say, look, I'll give you my whack. I'm feeling tired, I'm knackered, just take me off. But I mean, to actually sit with all these monitors and having the play, Jesus.
Absolutely. Well, it was a big crowd, and fair play to St Johnstone. We don't want to take anything away from them because they won the match. I don't think Callum Davison was too happy though.
I probably didn't celebrate because I was that angry about the first half still. Still going around in my head. So, I think, listen, that's going to happen. I think the celebrations are going to be a little bit more muted, especially on the sidelines, to wait to see if it's a goal. But, delighted with the outcome. I thought VAR was okay. I thought the referees did really well tonight. Tried to get the game going as quick as possible.
Well, fair play to St Johnstone. They get all 3 points, and another team that suddenly I'm looking at them and I think he's starting to attract. Somebody suggested Stephen Robinson could be in line for the Northern Ireland job. St Mirren 2, Dundee United 1, and they were worthy of it.
Yeah, they were. I thought they absolutely dominated the game. I thought they were by far the better team. They hit the post and the bar 3 times. Had the goal chopped off. I thought St Mirren played really, really well. Dundee United poor. Fletcher got the goal, but apart from that, never created anything. And it was thoroughly deserved win for St Mirren, who are now sitting in joint third with Aberdeen. 19 points after a pretty poor start, when a few St Mirren fans who maybe want the manager out the door. So I think Stephen Robinson's done tremendously well there.
It's good to watch.
Incredible. I think he's set up well. I think he recruited well over the summer. Brought in a wee bit of quality, I think, just in those central areas. And yeah, I think he likes to play an attacking style. He likes to go for it. I think. I was surprised at how dominant they were in the game on Saturday. I thought Dundee United would have offered a bit more, but they were more than worthy winners.
Yeah, I'll tell you something though, Ruffy. I look at Curtis Main. Sometimes you get a player who just can't cut it at one team, can't cut it at another, and then suddenly just finds a wee run where he's a dangerous player and people think he's a regular starter.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that you would look at and say, oh, he needs somebody up beside him. It was Brophy for a wee while, but he's a big, powerful unit, and he certainly is one of the centre forwards who puts his head in where it hurts. And he did that at the weekend. He was really aggressive to get ahead on it. But I like the big boy up front. I can't pronounce his name. Where did he come from? He was absolutely superb.
Yeah, he is
fantastic.
He puts himself about, Ruffy.
Yeah, he's just.
His first name's Jonah as well.
Yeah, well, that's
all right for a Jonah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got the biggest Jonah here sitting next to us. And by the way, when we talk about Ruffy suggesting Kilmarnock are going to get relegated, unbeaten in 5, 10th, 12 points, 3 above Ross County and Dundee United. They're heading in the right direction.
They are, and I think you owe Derek McInnes an apology live.
Yeah, in your own time, Ruffy.
Yeah, I'm not. They were lucky at the weekend. If Laidlaw hadn't slipped, he would have just run.
Wee boy Armstrong's banging the goals.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's doing really, really well.
I mentioned to you last week that at least with Lafferty out, Armstrong can score goals.
Yeah, he did. He'd been through and took his goal well, tucked it away lovely, roof of the net. So that's what teams like Kilmarnock, St Johnstone, they need a regular goal scorer. Guys like that can get you 5, 10, even 15 goals a season. Are like gold dust in this league because everybody beats everybody else from third all the way down. So,
do you think Kilmarnock are putting something in the 18-yard box for visiting goalkeepers to slip? So that's Laidlaw this week and Craig Gordon the week before.
Yeah,
I think there's some slippery stuff, soap or something.
It's called That Pitch. Well done, Ali. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was just testing your sore arm there, see if it was working. Anyway, let's look at the most important part of the weekend, which is alarming because suddenly people who I think it's fair to say last season were arrogant, condescending at times when they were top of the predictor table, and now suddenly the whole thing is going pear-shaped. Look at that. Alan Ruff, you're on 101, I'm on 98, Tam McManus is on 90, Alison, you're on 90, and Tam Cowan is 3 behind you now on 87. But look at that, man. Suddenly Shuggles got 12 points at the weekend, and I did say to Hugh McDonald, Hugh, is there any chance you can get your act together, start taking this seriously, and come on, let's make a go of it. And he's making a go of it now, Ruffy, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's been very well.
I've moved up. I was second bottom. I'm making progress.
Yeah.
And I've caught up with Tam. I've caught up with Tam.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll tell you right now,
serious. I've took my off the ball the last couple of weeks. I need to get back on it.
Yeah, you will need to because quite simply, Cowan set the bar. We all know where it is now. It's got to be a top drawer meal, Ruffy.
And do you see after we went for our meal who went in on Friday night?
Oh, I
heard we were there and he decided to come in.
Who?
Rod Stewart.
Was it Rod Stewart?
Rod Stewart was in, yeah.
I saw the
in that restaurant?
Yes.
In our room.
In our room. Well, of course, the ghost of parties past was there for him to have a look at it. Yeah, absolutely. It was fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Couple of things I want to get your thoughts on, lads. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Give us your thoughts on VAR. We are going to be talking European football all the way through this week as well. Looking forward to Shakhtar Donetsk coming to Glasgow, Celtic against Shakhtar Donetsk, and also it's Napoli against Rangers. Our reporter Adam Binney will be out there for us, and on Thursday it's going to be Hearts against RFS, so fingers crossed we have a better week than we had last time out when we were all thoroughly miserable, Ruffy, after a few tankings.
Yeah, it certainly was, but you got to get it can turn any time at all, can't it?
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, I don't know why you're looking at Ali for anything, by the way. It won't turn unless we get our finger out. Hopefully we'll get 3 positive results from this week. I have my doubts, and I know the guys are looking at it. Is there any positive result coming out?
Hearts will win.
Hearts will win.
Is it any good for Hearts to be third?
No, need to finish in the top 2.
No, need to finish in the top 2, Ruffy.
I think Celtic might have a chance at home against Shakhtar. I thought they were quite unlucky. I thought they should have won that game actually. When it
shows you how the whole thing's changed for them, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think Ange Postecoglou is desperate to get a win. I know he spoke about they don't need the validation of 3 points, but he was hugely irked by the perception that Celtic somehow don't belong in that company. I think he was annoyed at being lumped in with the overall poor performances of Scottish teams in Europe this season. I think quietly he's desperate to get a win tomorrow night. I think financially it's worth money. It's worth good money to get a win in the Champions League. I quite fancy Celtic maybe edge it tomorrow night. Yeah,
is that the only one in Hearts for a win?
Hearts possibly for a win. That's a team that you would say if they're going to get a win. That's a win that you would say. Rangers you would fear for Rangers going to Napoli.
Yeah, okay. Lewis Ferguson, Ruffy, scored a goal for Bologna in a 2-0 win over Lecce. Good to get his first goal in Serie A. Not many Scottish players can brag about that, Ruffy.
No, and we always like to see Scottish players, if they're going down south or abroad, doing well. And I think we bags of experience playing in that league. And it's how hard it is to score in that league as well. So well done to him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good. Joey Taysom, I forgot about the quiz question today, but it is a good quiz question. How many Scottish players have scored playing in Serie A?
I think that's great for Lewis Ferguson. He was injured, I think, when he first went, but he's played the last 4 or 5 games, I think, and he was a player that I was absolutely certain that Rangers would have signed. I think he'd have been ideal for Rangers, a goal-scoring midfield player. They're still playing Arfield and Davis, who are probably past their best now. I think that Ferguson's one that they will regret.
Yeah,
not signing.
Ruffy, can you think of any players, Scottish players that have scored in Serie A?
Joe Jordan.
Joe Jordan, yeah.
Yes.
Good
Dennis
shout.
Law.
Dennis Law.
Law.
Yep.
Mark Catley, English.
He's English.
Yeah.
Let me do that once. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron Hickey's the other one I was thinking of. And of course, Lewis Ferguson. Is there anybody else?
William Henderson.
William Henderson, I think. Was it Serie B he scored in?
No, I think he scored in Serie A.
You think so? I think you're just throwing that name out because you think the people that are going to Italy will check it in case you go through your wee Ruffy phase.
Henderson.
Right, okay. Still good. Here's the English results from the English Premier League. If you like that stuff, what is it?
Rose Riley.
Rose Riley. Great shout, Ruffy. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 0. I wish you could show you Ruffy's face right now, but we will get to it. Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 0. I can't believe what's happening to Liverpool.
Klopp out. I told you this weeks ago. Get him out.
Don't be silly, you.
Hopeless.
Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0. I watched that. Fantastic for Frank Lampard. Man City 3, Brighton 1. Chelsea 1, Manchester United 1. Wolves 0, Leicester 4. Aston Villa 4, Brentford 0. It's amazing what happens when you lose your manager. Southampton 1, Arsenal 1, Leeds United 2, Fulham 3, and then Tottenham 1, Newcastle United 2, West Ham, Bournemouth taking place tonight. Yeah, great shout, Ruffy. Rose Riley, which is really good. Last word on this Newcastle. Eddie Howe is singing the praises of Bruno Guimaraes. He didn't realise that his wife had given birth to a lovely newborn child, but he hadn't slept in 2 nights, but he still would have started them.
Yeah, well, he's kept that quiet from me. I mean, I knew about 1 night, I didn't know about 2 nights. I found out sort of after the game. He said I haven't slept for 2 nights, so I don't think it would have changed my decision because he's pivotal to the team. He's so important in everything that we deliver. Thought he was outstanding today.
And it's the last point I'm going to ask you. Have you ever had a situation, Tam, where you've had 2 nights not sleeping, played in a big game, and played well?
No, probably not. On holiday, you don't go to sleep at night, but not during the season.
Not ahead of a big game. Ruffy, this is in your second book. Have you ever have you ever had 2 nights not sleeping and then turned up for a big game?
No, I never, but I did. This is a true story. I actually did take a sleeping tablet in the afternoon of Scotland versus Brazil and thing. Fortunately enough, it was about 11 o'clock, so I had enough time to sleep it off. I thought it was a paracetamol and it was a sleep tablet.
So now we know the reason why.
Is that in 82?
No, the friendly week the year before.
Oh, thank God it was a friendly. Suddenly, I had never heard that before. That's brilliant, Ruffy. There
when
you are.
did you realise?
Yeah, when I fell asleep. When he fell asleep for the corner. Brilliant, Ruffy. Anyway, fantastic. Listen, join us if you can tomorrow, because the man who suddenly got the bit between his teeth, Hugh McDonald, will be with us here in the studio. Really looking forward to it as well. We'll continue our look towards the European games. Of course, it will be Celtic against Shakhtar Donetsk, Napoli Rangers, and Hearts against RFS. Hit the subscribe button if you get a chance. Thank you to every one of you for watching the programme, downloading the app as well, getting all those breaking stories, and listening on the podcast. We really do appreciate your support. From Tam, from Ruffy, from Alison, myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching.